So, day 7 of this war, and there are not a lot of new developments, but a couple of themes that came up during the week. So, firstly, regime change, and Trump reiterated that he wants to have a say in who comes next in Iran. And the other issue that came up again is whether the US has enough weapon stockpiles to keep going through this war. Caroline Leavitt, the White House spokesperson, came out and said the US has more than enough to meet its operational needs in Iran. They gave a timeline of 4 to 6 weeks to meet all their military objectives. Of course, that's still a long time. But the reason why it came up is because Trump met with the CEOs of many of the big defense companies at the White House. Trump himself earlier this week said that the US didn't have as many high end weapons as he would like. The reason for that is because of arming the war in Ukraine, the US has depleted a lot of its stockpiles of those kinds of weapons, and it takes time to rebuild. So, here are a couple of clips from day 7. Right after the strikes began, Trump came out in a post and asked the Iranian people to rise up against the regime. And then after that, we heard other people from his administration, Pete Heck, the defense secretary, Marco Rubio, the secretary of state, come out and said this is not about regime change. This war is not about regime change. But if there is a regime change, then great. That's good for everybody. But now we're seeing Trump being very clear about what he wants. Not only does he suggest a regime change, he wants to choose or have some part in the wants to be involved in choosing who comes in next. Washington has said that they've got a couple of people that they're looking at. Trump has also said that in the past few days, some of the people they considered have been killed in the strikes. He's kind of comparing this to the Venezuela model, where the U.S. was able to go in and put someone in place that was suitable to Washington. Iran, of course, is very different. It's a much larger country, much more complicated and bigger regime that has been in place for decades. Trump, in separate interviews, has talked about the type of person he wants. He has said, you know, someone who's acceptable to our allies. He also had an interview in which he said he doesn't mind if this person coming in is democratic or a religious figure, as long as that person is fair to the U.S. and Israel. So all kinds of requirements and comments he's making about what happens next. The question is when that happens, because the U.S. is given this timeline of 4 to 6 weeks. A lot can happen between now and then,